Today we are going to be ranking Clove on all maps as a solo controller and a double controller, from 1 to 10. An example of 10 will be Viper on Icebox as a solo controller, and an example of 1 would be Solo Viper on Bind. Sorry, GE. Kicking things off with Ascent, and as a solo controller on defense, you're pretty limited as to where you can be for both choke points, right? So bottom, middle, pizza, and over towards short is where you can see both of these choke points, so you're kind of limited to playing over towards here, which in ranked is absolutely fine. In pro play, it might struggle a little bit and maybe won't replace the Omen, but there's definitely some options of how you can use this ability to heavy shut down. So again, in your ranked, it's going to be fine. In pro play, as a solo controller, I think this is too limited. If you play it with a double controller, however, and the other controller is locking down B, I think it's very strong over towards A, right? You can have your smoke over towards here at the beginning, and the luxury of this agent is the double smokes, right? You can place them both at the same time. So the time gets low, double smoke comes in, and in my opinion, all you have to do is try and get one with this agent. You can then go into the smoke. I think the shorty is going to be your best friend, and when you have these kind of cubbies that you can hide into to enable you to get that one kind of cheap kill, that is all you have to do. You then go down, you can organize your team to retake. Smoke comes down when they want to retake, and then they deal with everyone over towards site. And then when it's time to deal with the people on A main, you just smoke the spike for them. They can either stick the spike or tap the spike and duel. And it just creates a lot of pressure. So in my eyes, it's one of the weird anchor agents where you're actually okay committing over towards the site, and that's very rare at the moment. Most people in pro play will have to like TP out, etc. So it's cool that you can actually have util to enable you to fight over towards the site without losing too much. Similar story over towards B. Normal smokes, obviously very, very good. You can do this bit of damage when they're running out to enable you or your team to get a kill. And then playing back a site with a shorty, in my opinion, is going to be so strong. Again, all you do need to do as an anchor is to get one. So getting one and playing at the back with a shorty, these kind of angles is going to be very, very strong. And then obviously when you go down, you can smoke off the normal choke point to allow your team to retake in. On attack with Clove, very good. You can just smoke over towards most of the spots here from A lobby, B lobby in terms of doing a default. If you want to go fast onto site, especially over towards B, you can drop both of these at the same time, so you can be a little bit faster and actually help your duelist get out through the choke point, so that's great as well. The good thing about this agent is this is the KO wall, and that is the range of your smokes when you die. So say that I wanted to lurk, say that I didn't actually have a sentinel, which I think is viable with this agent. I think you can kind of just play a little bit selfishly and have a lot of freedom and maybe be that person that acts like a turret. If you die over towards here, you can still smoke off short. Obviously, you can smoke everywhere over towards B, but you can also still smoke off short just, right? So say you die in the corner, you can smoke over towards here and block off and help your team in the after plant over towards A. So I do think that lurking as well, if the money's low, I think you can take a hit. Maybe you can get a sheriff and you can give everyone else the guns. You don't have to buy armor, and you can just have pressure all the way around, and then potentially you'll get a kill. You can heal, and then you can get their gun, and then you can go into the site as well. So I think the option of lurking on this map is very, very strong. Over towards A as well, taking map control, I think it's very strong. You can force yourself a little bit more into A main. In my opinion, you can take more risks with this agent because it's like a 50-50 duel, but the reward is so high of you being able to get a kill, get a heal, and also if you die, you can still have impact. So I think you taking risks, maybe coordinated risks, I would say, with like flashes, I think is very, very strong. And then going over towards the site, you can help your team, and then after plants as well. You can do your first smoke over towards here in the after plant, second smoke on top of the Jenny as well if we do the normal default plant, so that when they're defusing, they can't actually see anything, so they don't know when you're peeking. So yeah, over towards A in terms of after plants, it's very good. And just taking a little bit more risks, I think, is something that you can do on this agent. Same thing over towards B, where you die after plant util, obviously smoke for them to come out both of these angles, and then once they're over towards site, I think the priority of the smoke over towards stairs is very, very strong. For early aggression strats as well, so barrier down and we want to go aggro, there's some good bit of util that you can do that for like a Vision Strikers-esque strategy. Over towards A if you want to push close as well, this bounces and explodes in a pretty good spot. And over towards B as well, you can just throw the molly or the K molly just off the wall here as well, and you can get this to go relatively deep. You can get one that lands outside here as well if you wanted to like a real fast aggro strat. Overall, I would give this agent a 3 out of 10 for solo smokers. Don't worry, it's still going to dominate ranked. It's more for pro play. And in terms of double controller, I think it has so many options. I would give it like a 9. I think 9 out of 10 for this map. I think it's very good when you have a double controller, especially a Viper that can lock down the other site. Now over towards Bind, and I'm a little bit excited for this map because it's one of the better judge maps, and as a solo smoker, or even just a normal smoker in your rank games, you're going to be playing Hookah, you're going to be playing Lamps, and I think this is the best judge agent we've seen. Say that there's some util coming in terms of like a Skydog or a drone, you can do your damage, you can deal with it, and then anyone following it up is just going into a death trap. You get a kill, you get some heal, so you can buy light armor, or we can have a bit of movement ability and we can take some riskier moves as well. So I think it's very strong for holding over towards Lamps and Hookah, and again you can smoke over towards short, similar to what you can do as a Brim. And good to know, if you go into this corner here, you can actually do a relatively okay smoke over towards long. Takes a little bit of time to get it good, like let's say there maybe, and it will actually cover all of long as well. So it does leak out slightly, but honestly not too bad at all. So I think as a solo smoker in your rank games, you're going to be playing these two positions, but you also kind of want to be playing these positions. It's a one and done agent. If you get the one and you're done, then you can do the smokes and after plan, obviously block off map control, then block off the smoke when they actually want to try and defuse the spike. So I think playing these areas suits you very well because your agent's so good with a judge. In terms of some of the stuff you can do with your damage, right, enabling a teammate to swing over towards here, damaging the planter, just one off of this should be pretty strong. And then I think trap plays are good. You can go over towards showers. Let's see if we can try find like this maybe. Yeah, something like that. If you had a camera, it would go down into the angle there as well, so you could do some trap plays in terms of a Cypher camera. And over towards the long, maybe with a combo of like a Raze or something, you could do something from back here. Say there's a camera spotting, and then you could be over towards here and jump damage out towards that. So I think there's some options on this map. In terms of solo controller, I wouldn't be doing it in pro play because Viper kind of dominates this, but for the actual solo controller and ranked, I think this is going to be great. Embrace the judge, use it 80% of your rounds you're going to have. Honestly, you're going to wreck people. On attack, it is a little bit worse. You can't really do too much. You can do your normal smokes as a Brim. The good news is you can do two at the same time. The issue is this is one of the wider maps, so your actual range is a little bit worse. You've got to stick with the pack. You can't really lurk too much because you're dependent in terms of smoke. So the options of this map a little bit decreased. Some of the stuff you can do to push people off of the actual sides though isn't too bad in terms of the damage. But yeah, as a solo controller, you're gonna have to kind of stick with your team, and even as a double controller, I think the same as well. You can barrier down, you can get a little bit closer over towards here, potentially push some people off and force them into some areas. The good news is if you get over towards showers, when you're dead, you can smoke over towards the site. Same thing over towards B as well. So it's definitely not awful on this, but I'm not sure if it's actually... I think the Brim is better, I guess is what I'm saying. But I think there's some options on this, and if you have a Viper, creeping up towards here can be pretty good if you want to force over towards A anyways. You can maybe take more risks instead of the Viper taking risks. Then if you die here, you can just do your normal sight smokes or the deeper smokes. So I do think teams could make it work. I'm not sure they would replace the Brim on this, but I think there's some legs for it for sure. In terms of solo controller, again, the map's too wide, so I would give it like a 4. I think it's a little bit better than Ascent, just purely because on defense, I think you can have good impact and you can smoke both of the sites from the two areas that you want to play. And then as a double controller, I would give it like a 7, maybe even a 6. I would probably give it a 6 out of 10. It's time to look at Breeze, and it's going to be a short one because they are just not good on Breeze. This is the only position I can smoke both of the choke points, and would I want to be bottom middle? Not really, because if I die here, I can't even smoke the spike or the choke points either, so I'm pretty useless in the retakes as well. So solo controller, just not a thing. Would you play solo Brim on this map? Hopefully not. So that is the similar story. In terms of double controller, it has minimal legs, right? You can smoke off the choke point, you can do some okay bit of damage with the decay. You can maybe at a stretch do some one-ways that are good after you die, and then you could smoke the spike, smoke a choke point, so that's okay. On attack, there's some relatively all right one ways that you can do, even on defense, right? You can just smoke this either way. If you want to take map control on attack, if you want to take it on defense, you can do that as well. You can potentially condition them to not be going aggro. Obviously you can use this on defense as well, but yeah, you can't. You would just use an Astra or an Omen. There's a reason that Brim isn't played on this. So even dying over towards here, I just don't think that the smokes are enough. There is some okay one ways that like you can do that will help you out, but I just think you would have another agent on this one. So solo controller, I'm gonna give it a 1, and double controller, 2, maybe at a stretch you could say 3 because some of the one ways, but yeah, it's just there's just better agents. Now we get into the interesting stuff. Icebox. As a solo controller, Clove is not the one. The map is too big, right? You can play kitchen, you got to play middle, and yeah, they're just mid on this map. But as a double controller with the normal Viper util, I think they have a lot of legs, right? You can shut down over towards A, you could condition them with like a molly over towards here, one over towards the top as well would actually work in terms of going far enough, so you could do some aggro plays, get them low HP. Also, with the normal wall that you would do with a Viper, you can cycle this with the Viper util, right? Viper wall goes down, then you do these smokes, and you can hold heavy. You can just rotate between here freely. Then these go down, you can pop the wall back up. I think that's very strong. And then if we ever saw the guard as well, right? The guard used to do retake smokes, and they would be here and here. And for the normal plant, right at the top, this would vision block. For the default plant, this would vision block, and they have to commit into these one-ways. And it's very, very strong. And Reyna and Jett are really good over towards A because there's so many one and done spots right here where you could just play off the one way. Also here, up towards over towards here, down here, right? There's a lot of committed one and dones where they get a kill, they get out. You could potentially do that, get a kill, get a heal, get out. But also if you went down, it's not the worst because you could do these smokes as your first layer. And then in the retake, you could do these smokes as well. So you can have a lot of impact once you're done. And sometimes over towards A, it's a very simple map, right? Everyone does 4 ones or just 5 hits a site. So you getting this info means that you can play these heavier rotates, and if you go down, you get the early info, and you can just do normal, you can just do good smokes. So I think they have a lot of potential on this map, heavy committed over towards A. I also think same story towards B. Teams hate it when you play close. You can do that as well. You can get early info. But where I think they really shine is playing over towards yellow. Teams hate it when you play over towards yellow. It's a bit of a nightmare. And you can kind of just hold these angles. You can smoke for yourself. And then in the after plant, you do the same smokes. This is a nightmare when they're rushing over towards the site. Also retaking. And then you can smoke the spike itself to create a lot of pressure. I think this agent is good for committing over towards here. You don't need necessarily a duelist over towards this. A lot of time when teams will play a duelist, because you can dash over towards yellow, you can dash towards snowman. But I think with the extra smokes, this enables you to do things that you wouldn't necessarily, or you would struggle to do if you had no duelist. So I think on defense, at the very least, very, very strong. And then I look at attack, and you can punish over towards here. You can probably get this a little bit better, but this will hit anyone over towards here. You could combo over shock dart. Similar story, a lot of one ways that are good, right? You can just do this ones over towards here. So on rafters, people can't really full commit. They kind of have to commit early, and then it's like it doesn't feel good peeking this. So there's a lot of smokes that are good. And then in the after plant as well, say you do a normal default after plant, you could just smoke here, and I mean, they don't have any vision. They can't see if you're peeking them. And I think it's strong. Similar over towards B, right? Top of the site, you can have smokes that are going to block people's vision. So this is the sleeper map for Clove, and I think they're great. I think they're really good on this. If I was in a team right now, I would try them and Viper together just to see what it's like, because there's a lot of potential that teams, in terms of how they play, I think it would be great against them. Solo controller, I'll give it a 2. Maybe a 2 just because, I mean, the map's big, but you have some one-ways, so you can anchor a little bit better and fight over towards the site. Maybe, yeah, a 2. In terms of double controller on this map, I think this is the best double controller agent. I would give it a 9. I think it's the sleeper map. I'm excited to see if a team plays it. Clove on Lotus, majority of the time you're going to be over towards B. This is the only place where you can kind of smoke all of the choke points. You could be here, you can be over towards Heaven, you can be Hobbit, and it's not too bad at all because, right, they're going to use util to come in. You can do this AoE once they've gone in, and you should be able to get people in the side. When you die here, you can help with the smokes over towards A also, so it's okay. Shutting down A as well, right? If they're coming out early, you have someone to break this. You could combo that with a bit of util behind it. The best thing for sure is you want to make sure you don't get Odin spam. So you would do it like that, and this will reach over towards the back as well, so you kind of heavy condition people that are running out. That with an Odin spam, you might actually get some kills, so that's pretty strong in terms of not much util thrown and actually just deterring them over towards A. One ways on this map relatively good as well, right over towards C. You have this one over towards here, so you can do these one ways to deny them a little bit to slow them down, so that is relatively strong. And anchoring over towards C, if you have the Viper, again, I strongly think that this should always be played with a Viper, just with how strong Viper is. Right back towards here, pretty good with the damage, back over towards this with the damage, and you could even play off site. Right, you could even play off site. They go for a plant, you don't have to be too accurate with it. You can do that, and then as it explodes, you can just tap the planter. So I think that that could be pretty strong as well in terms of getting a kill if you timed it right. There is potential on this map, especially when I look at attack. This is one of the only maps along with Ascent that I think you can lurk, and going over towards middle is strong, right? So the rest of your team can take some map control, you can do some smokes for them, but say you get over towards this area, you want to exec over towards A, you can do these two smokes to help them out. You can also do like the one way up towards here in terms of after plant, right? So that's pretty strong. And then say you had a, like you could enable the rest of your team, you have a sheriff, no armor, you could get a kill as they're rotating. Over towards C, same thing, right? You can smoke all of the main areas that you need to be smoking off. So relatively strong. And even if you die over towards here, this is where you can smoke in terms of you dying. So over towards here, you can always have these good smokes. This would have to be a little bit lower, right? This is where you could smoke in terms of dying in this area. And over towards B, you can see you can get most of the main afterplant smokes in terms of if they're going through door, you can do this one, or waterfall, blocking of waterfall, and over towards A and obviously B. So pretty strong for lurking as well. And solo controller, this is probably the best one for ranked. This is where I'd be locking it in ranked, I think. This in Ascent feels like the best. So with that said as well, I think I would give it like a 5. It might be the best for solo just because I think it's good to shut down B and play someone B. 5 out of 10 maybe, still wouldn't be playing it in pro play on its own. But with another controller, with a Viper especially, I would give this a 7. I think it's a solid 7. The shutdown over towards A is pretty strong. And there's a lot of good smokes you can do with the one-ways. So, yeah, I think that it's a 7 with the double controller. Could maybe bump it up to an 8 if I saw some pro teams use it maybe better than how I think in my head. And yeah, a solid 5 for solo controller. But again, only really in your ranked games and not so much in pro play. Split with Clove because you can do this smoke from Heaven. I think it's a little better than maybe what I was thinking solo. You can definitely play over towards B Heaven a lot. The damage is good if they commit over towards site. You can enable, right, some of the normal smokes you can do, obviously, and then some of the smokes in terms of being able to play around back of sites. You can do it over towards A as well. This helps. I just think that the Omen is a little bit better on this map. I think Omen kind of dominates it. It's one of those maps, again, single controller can struggle. If you have a Cypher on attack, it might be a little better. I think there's some good trap plays with a Cypher as well. I would definitely run it with a Cypher on this map, right? These kind of camera plays where they get close and you can do the damage to kind of late take over towards B main. I think that's a pretty good option you can do. And anywhere over towards middle, like this is great again for just trap plays and just being able to take middle. So I think it has legs with a Cypher, camera info, trap plays. But that's one of those like one and done things that doesn't work too heavy in pro play. In like Premier rank, that would dominate, but pro play not so much. So yeah, I'm leaning towards in terms of what you can do, and even just like the after plant of just you going down the extra smokes. They're obviously good, but I think on this map there's less one ways that you can do on some of the others, and there's less impact in terms of the amount of map control they take anyway. So I would be heavy leaning towards solo. With a solo with a Cypher, I would say 5, but on its own, I'm going to give it a 4. And then Double controller, you would run it with a Viper, but I just think the Omen dominates it in every way in terms of like fake TP pressure over towards B, and the Omen Flash. This is one of the better maps for the Omen Flash, and being able to like force through util at middle, or flashing over towards like A heaven to enable extra space. I just think that the Omen is too vital on this map, so I would give it like a 6 out of 10. Like a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10, around there in terms of the double controller. I just think that the Omen is better on this map, for sure. So that's where I'm sitting in terms of split. Last but not least, we have Sunset, and I believe this is their best map. I would, as a solo controller, not so much, right? But double controller, I think they're very, very strong here. This is the only map I would run it with an Omen, and hopefully I'll persuade you why I think that. I think the one-ways on this map are too good, right? Cycling over towards A, I think this is great. If we look over towards the actual site itself, retaking, you always want to smoke this. I think on the actual site as well, when you're holding the site, you can smoke this up here. You can smoke this to block vision, this to block vision. You can have the one-way over towards here. I think there is so many options in terms of smokes that I think these smokes, and just having multiple of them, is better than like one bit of Viper util in terms of one set wall from a Viper. Even in some of these situations, I would rather have a smoke than an agent alive. And that's why I think that they're so good on this map. Heretics has proven that in terms of this map, right? You smoke over towards here, you plant towards stairs. I'm seeing them win 2v5s, 2v4s continuously because this smoke is up, people are running at them, they're having good angles, and they can just spam, and there's only half of the diffuse area. Like, you can only stand between here and here to diffuse. We saw it with Mindfreak, right? Les popped his smoke here, Mindfreak pops 2, and then he wins the round out on his own 1v4. This is one of the only situations in a map it is better to have smokes than it is to have an agent alive. I would take the trade on this one, so that's why I think they're insanely good on this. I think there's a lot of potential in terms of just like map control, early condition, whether it's on attack, whether it's on defense. You want to have a raise to go aggro, you can do that with a lot of these, right? You could throw this over here, you could throw this towards here, I imagine, we'll probably get something. Even when you want to take control of A at the beginning, right, heavy shutdown to just make sure that no one disrespects your smokes, you can do that at the beginning. And yeah, I think the options are through the roof. I really, really do. So very excited to see how teams are going to run it. I think that the Omen is too viable in terms of the flash as well, but I think with the amount of smokes you can do, one ways, I think that yeah, this is the only map I would run that duo with. And yeah, I think that you can disrespect some of the smokes, you can take some of the risks that would be a 50-50, and I still think it's worth. I die over towards A, I can still do all these smokes that I talked about earlier. I die over towards B, I can still do that smoke that I was talking about, right? The one where we block them off. As long as we have like a wingman or something, or anyone to plant here, in my opinion, this is like a one round with this smoke. So yeah, I think the map's a little bit busted in that, and I think this is one of the best agents to abuse the fact that this is a broken map, in my opinion, and needs a rework over towards B in terms of this stair area. In terms of what would be my fix, I would just take this whole line out, so you can't plant here, so you have to plant over towards here. That would be my fix for it, but it's a broken map. I imagine we'll get bored of it over towards B in the split, but until that happens, I would abuse the hell out of it with this agent, basically, is how I do it. So I think dying over towards B is just going to be worth, if you can get a 1-for-1 trade, or even if you go on your own, as long as you get the plant, I'm down for it. So yeah, best map. Only one I'd run an Omen with. I think some of the aggro stuff you can do is sick. With an Omen Flash combined as well, you can make sure you get map control. And yeah, I think this is a map where a lot of the times you play one site retake and you fight the heavy other site. And I think I would be down to just send this agent to the dogs in terms of just like, I'll play back a site, I'll get a kill, and then I'm dead. Sure, you guys want to retake? There's a smoke for getting this bit. I can smoke off side, or I could smoke off the spike if they're playing a little bit further back. I just think the options are unreal on this map. By far the best for me. I would actually give it a 10 out of 10. Considering how B is right now, double controller, I would give it a 10 out of 10 on this map. I think it's so good on this map in terms of the fast stuff you can do, and everything else. But again, I would run it with the Omen just so that you have that extra flash to kind of get you some map control, or just being able to save it for when the retake comes in as well. I just think there's too much. I think some of the high advantages are great as well. So yeah, 10 out of 10 on this map. Just like I think Omen is a 10 out of 10 on this map as well. And solo controller, it's like a 4-3. You can't smoke much in terms of like on attack or on defense. So solo, I'd give it like a 3. And I give it a 10 out of 10 for where I'm at on this map. I think it's by far the best map. And yeah, I imagine we'll see it. I imagine Heretics will at least run it with their smoke. They seem to prioritize it very heavy, or like they think it's I think they think it's a big win condition for just being able to plant over towards B. Overall, Agent, very strong, especially with a Judge on defense, one of the best Judge agents we've seen, so you can try that out in Ranked. In terms of combos, good with a Viper, good with a Raze, good with a Cypher to do trap plays, and I'm just excited to see people use it in pro play. Mostly, it's going to dominate Ranked for a little bit. I imagine it gets enough because of that, but hopefully before then, we get to see a bit of play with it in the fast split, and it's available week 2 for the pro teams. Make sure you leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.